Hey guys, Robbie Falk here with On 3 Sports, the Starkville Daily News, for a little recap, reaction video on Mississippi State and Texas. Bulldogs fall 35-13 on the road against the number one team in the country, Texas Longhorns. And to me, coming into this ball game, we talked about it all week on Thunder and Lightning. We talked about it on the Talking Dogs that we had earlier this week as well. The big thing for Mississippi State was to try to find some positives out of this ball game. And yeah, it kind of sucks if you're a fan and you're starting to just kind of take the moral victories and the positives from games and things like that while you're still losing. But it's just where Mississippi State is at this point. And if you gave me the stat sheet and you kind of gave me some details on the game and you gave me the score, I would sign up for this game that Mississippi State had on Saturday. 35-13 is your final score. State gave up 522 yards of offense on defense. The defense, again, was gashed on a lot of big plays. And, they gave up 6 yards a rush. They gave up, 8 yards a play. I mean, almost a first down a play. It just is what it is on the defense right now. But the defense, we know that they're going to give up 500-plus yards against teams like Texas. It's almost a formality at this point. The defense is all about results as far as, the score, the scoreboard and forcing turnovers, things like that. For me, it has nothing to do with style points anymore about this defense. Can you get off the field? And they did get off the field more than enough times. They gave the offense plenty of opportunities to do some things on Saturday. And I didn't think the offense was just bad. 294 yards. You scored 13 points with a true freshman quarterback. Listen, you have to look at Texas in a lot of ways like you do some of these games in the past Mississippi State had. When you think about Dan Mullen and some of those teams he took to Alabama, LSU, 2014 notwithstanding, Georgia, some of these places where Mississippi State just could not move the ball. They weren't getting first downs. That wasn't the case here. You have to look at Texas in that same category. This is the number one team in the country. This is a team with a very good defense. They're top 10 in a lot of categories this year. One of the best pass defenses in the country. And State moved the football on them. There were very few 3-and-outs in this game. Let me look at the drive chart here. State had 3-and-out on the second possession. Went to halftime, 3-and-out. That was actually a fumble. So only 2 possessions where they had 3 plays outside of going to the halftime, and one of those plays was a fumble, and that was a drive that I think was, I think it was right after Texas fumbled. Yeah. So Texas fumbled that opening drive of the half. State fumbled it right back. But the Bulldogs routinely were putting together, drives that was keeping their defense off the field and giving them opportunities. And that's what we talked about. Can they run the football with enough success to take some pressure off of Michael Van Buren, to keep the defense off the field? This was a game where you didn't want to run tempo. You wanted to allow your defense a little bit of time to breathe and also take some of that pressure off of Michael Van Buren. They did that. First possession, they turned it over on downs, but that possession was a win. It was a 13-play drive for 47 yards. You ran 7 minutes off the clock. You could have ended that possession with points. You didn't, but to me, it was a win. 3-minute drive towards the end of the first quarter. 3-minute drive led to a field goal in the second quarter. 5.5-minute drive left to a field goal. That was one of their best drives of the game. They're late in the second quarter, 10 plays, 64 yards. Almost a 5-minute drive, ended with a punt in the third quarter. 3 minutes and 18 seconds on the 7-play, 75-yard drive with a TD. It was just, routinely Mississippi State the game plan worked. I thought that the game plan really worked. Now, you definitely see some deficiencies with this team, specifically on the offensive line. The tackles got absolutely destroyed in this game. 11 tackles for loss for Texas, 6 sacks. Michael Van Buren very rarely had a lot of time. We saw defensive linemen, I don't know if they knew the snap count, and Mississippi State didn't or wasn't on the same page, I don't know, but defensive linemen were jumping the snap while the offensive line was left in their stance. Albert Reese had a rough day. McCollum Pounders had a really rough day. Both of those guys really struggled in this game. And, Texas has some talented players on the edge, so you got to give them a little bit of credit. But they just didn't help Mississippi State with the game plan that they wanted to do. But I thought, 294 yards, not bad. You got a freshman commanding the offense. I thought Michael Van Buren was fantastic for a true freshman in his first start. 12 of 23. He had probably 4 or 5 drops, 2 deep balls that were beautiful that just weren't hauled in. And that was probably 100 yards on those 2 deep balls there. 144 yards passing for him. He took 6 sacks, but he also had a rushing touchdown. I didn't really look at him and think he looks really overwhelmed. That for the most part during the game, he looked like he belonged for Mississippi State. And I think that was the biggest thing for the Bulldogs, was to have a guy that comes in there and is not intimidated by the atmosphere, that is not scared of anything. He came in here and I thought really played well. Johnny Daniels, I thought, was the MVP of the game for Mississippi State. 15 carries, 75 yards in the ball game. That was the way that he played, how hard he ran, and he probably should have gotten more carries than that. How hard he ran and his blocking ability, it really said a lot about him. This is a guy that probably wants more playing time, and he's probably not super thrilled with the fact that he's been, the number 3 guy a lot of times. But Kevon Lee going out, it really brings him into the picture now. And I thought he was Mississippi State's best running back by far. Davon Booth, 18 carries, 59 yards. Wasn't bad, but I thought Johnny Daniels ran with a little more purpose. And Daniels was able to churn out a few more yards after that first contact, too. So I thought he was really good in this one. Kevin Coleman, got to find ways to get that guy the ball more. He had 6 catches for 57 yards. He just makes something out of nothing a lot. And, they got to get him the ball more, whether it be jet sweeps, end arounds, line him up in the backfield, something. He needs the ball a little bit more. He had 6 catches, and nobody else had more than 2. Justin Ball had 2 catches for 6 yards. The 522 yards from Texas, it's kind of, like I said, it is what it is with this defense right now. They can't tackle. They look outmatched out there as far as, one-on-one going up and trying to make a tackle on somebody. More often than not, they're getting run over. It's just a body thing at this point for Mississippi State. I just don't think they have the dudes to go head-to-head with Texas. But I thought they played hard in this game, and that was really big. I didn't think the scheme was a big issue for them. I just think that they were it was 5 stars versus it looked like 3 stars. It just looked like a team that was much more talented. Thought Stone Blanton did some good things today. 9 tackles to lead the team with a tackle for loss. You're missing Isaac Smith. He probably changes the trajectory of this game if he's in there today. That's been easily your best tackler, one of the best tacklers in the country early on this season. Him coming up and making some stops for you today, I think, would have been huge. I don't know if it would have been a difference in, 3 touchdowns, but it does change the trajectory of the game. I think he at least could account for stopping 1 touchdown drive. I don't think that's outside the realm of possibilities. Texas had a big game from Wisner, the running back, 13 carries, 88 yards. I think Blue had a couple of fumbles. Arch Manning looked fantastic. It's going to be hard to keep him off the field. 26 of 31, 324, 2 touchdowns. I thought staying in the pocket a couple of times and took some blows from Mississippi State and just delivered. There was one pass that he threw a touchdown right before the half. Stone Blanton came in there and popped him, and he delivered a heck of a throw for a touchdown pass. And you can see it on him. I mean, you can see the Manning, and he goes beyond the face. I mean, the guy is just he is a natural-born QB, and he's got it in him. And great athlete, too. He rushed 6 times for 33 yards in the game. Ton of talent out there at wide receiver for Texas, and State just couldn't keep up with them. Had a lot of safeties chasing around some of the guys. But again, from an effort standpoint, Mississippi State played with a tremendous amount of it. I think that was the thing that you wanted when you came out of this ball game. You wanted a team that had played their hardest in the ball game, that you were in the ball game, dating back to the summer. We said best case scenario for Mississippi State in this game. Obviously, you want to win, but we weren't predicting a win. Can they stay in the ball game through three quarters, go into the fourth, and you feel like you're in the game? And I don't know if State was in the game going in the fourth quarter. It was 21-6, but it wasn't 56-10 or whatever. State was in the game. They had a chance in the second half, and that's all you could ask for. 73 plays. I thought, again, the game plan was there. And for Mississippi State, what you're looking for now is these bits and pieces from this team. Are they giving effort? Are you seeing some flashes from guys that are going to be back next year that you can really take in the next season and you feel good about the future of the program? Are you seeing coaching adjustments? Are you seeing a good game plan put together? I think we saw all of that on Saturday. I thought Jeff Lebby had a great game plan. I thought he called a really good game. There wasn't a ton of times where I'm looking at, and it hadn't been that way for me most of the year. There hadn't been a lot of times where I look at it and I'm saying, what is Jeff Lebby thinking as far as, the play calling? I can't complain a whole lot about Jeff Lebby, the play caller, 5 games into the season. I think play calling's been fine. I think Mississippi State is hamstrung a little bit with what they have on the offensive line. It might be time to try some of the younger guys at the tackle spots just to go ahead and throw them in there, because what you got going on right now is just, it's not working. And it's not working for a couple guys in the interior either. You might have to move some guys around, bring some new guys in there. I don't know, but something has to happen on the offensive line to help you out a little bit. They're just not getting the help that they need there. Michael Van Buren several times just didn't have a prayer. But the 6 sacks, you take those 6 sacks away, State rushes for almost 200 yards. And I think one of the things that I said coming into the ball game was, Brian asked me on, it was the Playmaker and preview day that we had on Friday, like, what would I be really impressed with, like a big takeaway? And I said if State could run, I think for 150 or something would be really impressive. They ran for 150, and that was with the 6 sacks. You don't have the 6 sacks, State runs for almost 200 yards against a really good front. That's impressive. This team has made strides running the football, and I thought, run blocking was decent again on Saturday. Pass blocking, not so much. Texas pinned their ears back, brought their edge rushers, brought a lot of pressure from the 2 guys on the edge and linebackers, and it was an issue for Mississippi State all day. But I thought they handled the game with some poise. Like I said, they've gone into these games before against Bama and LSU and teams like this on the road and just absolutely just collapsed and fallen apart. I didn't think that happened today. I never felt like, one possession when State started getting some penalties and a sack, they seemed to kind of fall apart a little bit. They had a couple of delay games in a row. Other than that, I thought for the most part, basically all day, State played with some poise and played loose. And that's what you want to see from the rest of the way. You got Georgia coming up, but Georgia's I'm watching it right now, getting absolutely hammered by Alabama. That's still going to be a team, inside the top 10 when you go to Sanford Stadium in 2 weeks. But State's got to get healthy. They got to get some bodies out there that can give them a little bit of depth and continue to take these strides. If these players can stay together and stick through this very difficult time, I think State's going to be okay. I trust Jeff Lebby. I really like Jeff Lebby. I think he's Mississippi State's guy. And for the next, 2 years especially, I think he's probably going to be Mississippi State's guy. No matter what happens, they're going to want to stick it out with him. I think the offense is going to be good in time, but you got a lot of issues on the defensive line. You got pieces you got to fix on the offensive line. But coming out, having the game plan like we talked about, playing with effort, playing with intensity, and acting like you want to be there, we saw all of that on Saturday. And it looked like a team that was playing with nothing to lose, and that's what you want at this stage. 8 of 17 on third downs, so solid. 9 penalties. They're still committing a lot of penalties. 73 total plays to Texas 62. They had just 2 less first downs than Texas, 19 to Texas 21, and got off the field on defense. That is the biggest thing to me, is they got off the field. Texas, it fumbled twice, they punted twice, and they had turnovers on down. Everybody pre-game would have taken this. They would have taken 35 points from Texas. They would have taken getting stops on 5 drives in this game. Everybody would have taken it. No doubt about it. So I think it was a positive game for the Bulldogs. I'm in Texas. They felt like, hearing Steve Sarkisian after the game, didn't feel like they were, they just put an awful ball game, and I didn't think they did. I thought State played with some intensity, and they punched them in the mouth a couple of times. Texas was happy about the wins, their first SEC win. I think that's a good team. I think they got a lot of really good talent, exciting team. Defense looks like they got some dudes on that side. They got really good wide receivers. You got 2, what an embarrassment of riches to have Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers on this team. But it's going to be tough to keep Arch off the field, man. He's a stud. He's a stud. He's ready. But it must be nice to have that in place. For Mississippi State, I think you got a stud too. I think Michael Van Buren is going to be really good. And there's a lot of exciting things that we saw from him on Saturday. The arm strength is tremendous. Zipped a couple of passes across the middle. Made some really good decisions at times. There were some plays that he's going to want back. But this is a kid that was playing high school football last year that graduated high school early. And he was playing at the number 1 team in the country on Saturday. And I thought took the fight to him. I thought he really impressed in this game. So I think you got a really good quarterback that's going to lead the way. And just like Arch Manning, it's going to be tough whenever Blake Shapen or whoever is back next year. It's going to be tough to keep this dude off the field. This is why Jeff Lebby recruited him. And he is indeed Jeff Lebby's guy, and you can see why he does all the things that Jeff Lebby wants out of a quarterback. You should, until further notice, you shouldn't have any distrust in Jeff Lebby in quarterbacks, because the guy knows what he's doing. So, it's a tough stretch for State, and it's tough to get out of this. But I think you look at this ball game in a lot of ways like that 2020 Mississippi State and Georgia game. That was a real turning point, I think, for Mike Leach. He had, those guys out there that were freshmen and first-year players, walk-ons. He had 43 players available, went to Georgia, was in the ballgame in the fourth quarter. This can be that moment for Mississippi State. If they can stick together and make it through this stretch, because it's going to be a tough stretch, you never know. And, you start playing football like that and playing with confidence, who knows? There might be a win or two you can sneak away on this schedule. I mean, you look around the SEC, and this isn't the, unbeatable conference at this point. Georgia, no way I'm predicting a win in that game. But, Texas A&M is not blowing the doors off. Arkansas, they find ways to lose games. Although at this moment, I would pick both of those teams to beat Mississippi State. Tennessee is playing as good as anybody in the country, so no way I'm picking State in that one. Missouri almost lost to Vandy. Who knows? And then Ole Miss, they lost to Kentucky. Again, that's all these games, the rest of the SEC games, I still have these teams winning. I'm just saying, if Mississippi State can find some confidence and keep getting better, these aren't unwinnable games for them, but the defense has got to play a lot better than what they're doing. Even though they got some big stops today, they got to tackle better. Whatever they can do, they got to get every ounce of ability out of them for this team to pick up multiple wins down the stretch. Offensive line's got to be way better. And who knows how that goes whenever, you got a team full of new players that are playing together for the first time. Sometimes it takes time to really get going, and maybe that's it for Mississippi State. Maybe they need more time to gel. But I thought this was one of the best games we've seen so far for Mississippi State from an effort standpoint, execution standpoint. There's a lot of things they can do better, but losing a game by 22 that you were picked to lose by 37, not a lot to complain about in this one. There's not a single person that had Mississippi State winning this game pre-game. And a lot of people believed, and me included, that it would be far worse than this. So I think there's a lot of things you can take away from it, and Mississippi State will go in the bye week with, I think, should have a little bit more confidence. You went and played this team tough for 3 quarters. Let's see what happens. So that's all from me tonight. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. We've had great growth on our channel in recent weeks. Over 1,000 subscribers since we started this thing earlier this year, and that's really exciting for me. We're able to do that all because of you guys, and I appreciate y'all. And also, don't forget to come subscribe to us at Maroon and White Daily. We have a ton of basketball news about to start coming out. We're going to talk to Sam Purcell this week. We'll talk to Chris Jans down the road in a couple of weeks. Going to talk to Chris Lamonis this week as well. But basketball is about to heat up, folks. And the only place where you can get full coverage of Mississippi State basketball team and recruiting news is Maroon and White Daily. And it's the best there is out there. Myself and Paul Jones are covering men's and women's basketball, and we love it. Our subscribers love it, so come check it out. And also, we cover this football team hard as well. We're not on the road all the time. I'm not spending money on that out of my own pocket right now. It's just not worth it for me. But we got eyes and ears just like you guys. I think it's more important to find some insider information like we had with Cree Whittemore this week when we broke that news. So we won't beat a lot of road games, but we're still going to have this team covered in full. And the recruiting news second to none that Paul Jones brings. So make sure that you're tuned in over there. We'd love to have you. That's it for me. We'll have, even though we don't have I don't think we have a presser on Monday because this is a bye week, we will have a Talking Dogs probably on Monday night where we'll discuss everything that happened this weekend and kind of moving forward, talking about some things. Maybe we'll delve into basketball a little more. We'll see. But other than that, that's all I got. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll catch you down the road.